10% of all the new cars sold in Iowa come from the Carl Auto Group. Our neighbors trust us to have the largest selection and the highest standards. To our current customers, thank you. And to our future customers, see for yourself why Carl drives Iowa.
Your dealer for life, it's the Carl way.
Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. TerraPlex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag-grown technology and support from TerraPlex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with TerraPlex Ag. Visit TerraPlexAg.com.
I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic, a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans. And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field. Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
Chris Williams, Brent Blum, from the Wild Rose Casino Studio. It's Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne, on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
What is up? It is Sunday, the 6th of April. My name is Chris Williams. No Brent Blum today. And no, it's not Joshua Jefferson rumors hit and Blum's gone. No, Blum's been planning on being gone for this week on a trip for months now. So we'll dig into all that with the grizzled veteran, the Cyclone Fanatic senior writer, one of my best buds, Rob Gray. Probably good to have Rob Gray in here, to be brutally honest, because he brings some levity to everything.
I try.
Yeah, it's wild times out there in Portal Land. I'm going to be honest with everybody right now. I have a really bad attitude today. I'm just telling you right now. There's probably a good thing we're not live and don't have commenters, because I have a really piss poor attitude about everything.
They're going to come up with a term for mental disorders related to the portal. They're going to have to come up with one. Portal dysplasia or something. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know what it is, but yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess being older and more grizzled, I just roll with a little bit more, but you get the brunt of
I just get the brunt of the crap. Like I can roll with the punches as far as what happens in the portal, but in my situations, everybody's mad at me.
Yeah. What are you doing, Williams?
Well, it's not even just the fans. It's like a lot of times the people you're reporting on, and you just get it from because it's like, I have a job to do for our people. I'm trying to get information for our people. Like, everybody's just mad.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It's fine. It's just, I'm ready for this. I have a lot on my mind. I'm ready for something to change with the way college athletics are governed. They say it's coming, so we'll give the Rose Bowl suits the benefit of doubt that they won't screw this up.
That's you talked about
how confident do you think I am that's going to happen?
Yeah, I know. It's nice of you to put on the rose-colored glasses there for a little bit. But I mean, at some point, they were brought in line more or less by getting their butts handed to them in court over and over and over again.
Yes.
Unfortunately, what that did is ushered in this era of, like lawlessness. It's like I don't know what you'd even call it. It's a free for all. It's Mad
lawlessness Max. Is a really good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, just Mad Max. I mean, who's got the who's throwing this thing and who's got the biggest buggy and who's I don't know. But eventually, yes, there will be some rules governing all of this and laws, I'm sure, as well. But for now, as you and Blum have talked about, and Blum, of course, in the thick of it more than most anyone else, it's chaos right now, and it's going to remain that way. Rumors fly. My favorite thing is I've never seen, this is the golden era for burners on social media, isn't it?
It's gotten out of control. And I will say this too, because this is I think where my biggest frustration comes is because like there's this weird almost like expectation for me to like, I feel like with some of the fans to address every rumor.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, Rob, rumors turn into something. Like there's usually, more often than not, a little bit of like truth to the smoke or something. But like, I mean, for instance, one thing happened this morning and it wasn't a big deal. This wasn't like a big story that most, like 98% of the fan base wasn't even aware of it. But we have such diehard subscribers, which is why I love it, because like I could never do like what you do for the Gazette now, like where I have to write these like everyday stories for water cooler fans because I'm so in the weeds, right? Like,
yeah.
And that's the type of fans that there was a visit was reported that a guy was visiting Iowa State and he's not.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're like, well, it's on Twitter. Well,
Yeah.
It's not true. Like, I'm not going to retweet every rumor that's out there connected to Iowa State to debunk it or to like, we're just going to do our own reporting on this. And we're not perfect. We're not always right. We try to be. It's just a really like the burner thing is completely out of control. But again, oftentimes this is what makes it so difficult. There's truth to it. But when you're a burner, you don't have any responsibility to like, you can just be wrong. And well, you're a burner.
And you can just throw it out there without zero consequences.
Yes.
And you're right. There are many times some of these burners probably have a well-placed source who's told them something. Now, the problem, what you talked about rumors, a lot of times there at least being some smoke to them, but there are the times, and I think it's an increasing number of times, where there's none.
Correct. Or they just take information that they get from somewhere else and claim
wildly bend it.
Yes.
And to provide context, you have to lend credence to the rumor, first of all. And as journalists, we are told you verify things before you put anything out there or even take part in discussions about them. You know what I mean? Because if you dignify the premise, right? It's like acknowledging the truth. There's some truth there. And again, a lot of times there is some minimum kernel of truth there, but sometimes there's none. So you have to navigate these things carefully and responsibly, which is really hard to do when you might have some 17-year-old on a burner that may have great information. In this portal, give a crap about it. Just throws it out there, not thinking of any consequences, not only them, but the ripple effects it can have to a lot of people's mental health and the overall truth that's going to be more nuanced than that.
And then you have the whole era of the portal, like everything that goes with the portal is just ripe for misinformation.
Yeah.
Right. And it has been a very frustrating process. I doubt most people care, but this is just Rob and I venting. I'm sorry. I hope you guys are somewhat enjoying it. We're going to talk about Joshua Jefferson coming up. We're going to, Rob has been really closely covering spring football for us at Cyclone Fanatic. We haven't done that enough justice on the pod network yet, but we will, I promise. We're going to have a 4-part spring football series coming up that's presented by our buddies over at A+ Lawn and Landscape. All that's coming up. We've not forgotten about football. It's just been, Rob and Connor have been at everything reporting on it. So we just haven't done a lot on the podcast. We will, I promise. I do want to thank our presenting sponsor, Mechdyne, Gripfer and Chris Clover, appreciate his support, everything that he's done. I hope that Science Bound did a great job with Forever True Day. Got some donations last week with our friends from the foundation. I know I got a nice email from Dean David Spalding from the Iowa State Ivy College of Business. They got a lot of great donations from our Cyclone Fanatic. So all of you people who participated in Forever True Day, man, we really appreciate that. It was a great day. One of my favorite days as an Iowa Stater. Rob, the rumor mill started buzzing on Saturday about Joshua Jefferson potentially receiving interest from other schools. Well, first of all, no crap. Of course he is. He's a really good player. This is what's so frustrating to me about this era, Rob, is that everybody's a free agent all the time, which is not sustainable for a lot of different reasons. I think the fans are quickly growing really tired of that. There's got to be, I hate the term guardrails, or, there's got to be some sort of, like, I would grow tired of that. Like, I'm a huge Atlanta Braves fan. I don't want to claim to be right now. That's how the season has started. But, like, part of the fun is, like, being able to project your roster out the next 2-3 years. I think, man, next year may be tough, but we're going to be really good down the road. Like, that was always my favorite part of being a college sports fan. Well, now you can't really do that. And like there's just no way, because everything is year to year. We'll see what they come up with. Long way of saying that Joshua Jefferson, we have reported to our premium subscribers, we didn't start this, that I believe it was the Trilly Donovan burner account, which I believe is highly connected in college basketball, started tweeting or I don't know if it was on Twitter or like Discord or whatever, but this is how it all started on Saturday, that Jefferson was receiving heavy offers. I believe they said from LSU. I haven't actually seen the report. I'm going off of what our premium subscribers have told me. What I can tell you, matter of factly, is that Jefferson and like his camp or whoever is represent, I believe he has an agent. I'm not sure. I think he has an agent. They agreed to terms with Iowa State after the NCAA tournament. What has happened, from what I've been told, is that the market has greatly shifted since that time. I'm pretty connected with, I would say, 5 or 6 programs in the country where I can send a text and get a pretty good idea of what guys are getting. Some of the former Iowa players from McCaffrey and where they've landed and what they're getting paid would blow your mind. It would absolutely blow your mind. Joshua Jefferson has the potential to be an All-American next year. He could be one of the 10 best players in the country. He could be the Big 12 Player of the Year next year, in theory. His market, what it was after Iowa State lost in the round of 32, compared to what he would be worth on the open market now, has skyrocketed. And from what I understand, conversations were had on how to maximize that in Ames, and conversations will continue this week. This was never a deal where Jefferson is like, I'm out. In fact, I don't think Joshua wants to leave Iowa State, from what I've been able to gather. And I'm going to pretty much leave it at that as far as the reporting goes here, because one, by the time many of you listen to this on Monday, things could have changed. And I don't want to be, and two, I don't have every detail. But that timeline I am very confident in, that's how it played out. And I'm also confident that he hasn't like left Iowa State. I think Monday will be a very telling day as to where this goes. But the big picture, this is what we've been kind of saying for months now. It's like you don't really, and I had one really good question with a fan from my report said, well, if he agreed with Iowa State, why didn't they get it in writing? And the problem is I don't know if they did or not. Even if they did, I don't think it really matters. Like, I don't think that legally you can make a guy stay. in this current climate. Now, I think in a year from now, you probably will be able to, but right now, you can't. I don't think these contracts are worth anything. I wish Blum was here because he has a lot more clarity on how that. Blum is not in the country, unfortunately, so I can't ask him that. He is in some Caribbean situation.
Oh,
I don't know all the specifics of it.
So he's got the pina coladas going.
Well, I'm guessing it's not going to be much of a pina colada trip for him.
Yeah, he'll be on the
based
horn a
on
lot.
everything that's going on. Yeah, I don't know all the specifics of that. But I guess that's how I can lay it out to everybody. And I'm trying to be responsible. I'm not just going to throw out random. I'm fear mongering. Like I do know. I've heard enough on how Iowa State's coaching staff and everybody responded, and it made me really proud of them because this is a complex deal. And I think like I'll also say this, like the overreaction on social media and just the sometimes just hateful stuff that doesn't help anyone. Like it does get picked up on, and like it doesn't help. And I thought Iowa State has done a really good job in the last 2-3 days of dealing with this, and we'll see how it plays out. But this sucks, but it also shouldn't surprise anyone, I wouldn't think, just with the given the climate of everything right now, that other school, it doesn't matter if he said after the NCAA tournament, I'm 100% coming back. Other schools will still recruit your players. And that's kind of where Iowa State's at right now.
No question. I've got a number of thoughts about this.
Let's go. Sorry, I rambled there. I apologize.
That's all right. You got the information out there. I mean, it's not just a tweet. Aren't players now exactly in the position? Forget the buyouts and all the specifics where coaches are. How many times do you hear a coach say, "I'm 100% in on this program"?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then like go and go to one school and then go to another school the next day.
And they still do it. Like we just saw Chris Beard do this a week ago, where he had no intention of going to A&M, but he totally leveraged them to get more money out of his current employer.
Yep. And look, that's.
And now we have agents with the players, which they used to be banned.
And what agents always do, this is what agents always say. This is why Drew Rosenhaus, for instance, he would drop guys if they said, "Hey, I'll take a lot less money to stay on Team X because I love being on this team." He's like, "No, that reflects so horribly on me as an agent. My job is to get max dollars for you." Now, really, his job is to get max dollars for himself. That's what that translates to, right? But Absolutely. In theory, it shows you're doing the best for your client, right? You get them the most money under any circumstances. That is the be all and end all. So again, this all ties back to the fact that the NCAA got dragged kicking and screaming, losing lawsuits and all this stuff. And that's why it is so seemingly shady. But again, I think it's not that, forget that you have buyouts and all that, and you have actual contracts with coaches. It's not that different because they can just be like, well, I'm going,
Mm-hmm.
And also don't forget the fact that most of these guys, they want to maximize what they can get in college. A lot of them, and this isn't the case with Joshua, I don't think, don't necessarily have a lot of pro potential. Joshua does.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's not a lot of guys who make the NBA.
Yeah. So, I mean, like a Deshaun Jackson, for instance, who could begrudge a guy for trying to get the most he possibly can for a guy who's probably maybe got some overseas time in him. Who knows? He could develop, I'm not disparaging him in any rate. He
I
did all the right things as a Cyclone. It was a great interview. Enjoyed having him around. Joshua,
the big dog.
Yes. Getting to know Joshua a little bit when I did that big feature on him going into the NCAAs. Just a soft-spoken guy, really nice young man.
Very nice kid, yeah.
Nice family. Talked to his dad and mom, extensively his mom briefly. I mean, there's just somebody, if there is an agent involved, which you presume there would be, that's an agent probably saying, hey, it's my job. My job is to get you max dollars. Well, then you start considering situations. What did we hear about football players who took less to stay at Iowa State? Some people have the luxury, though. Some people, I can't begrudge anyone for trying to get the most money they can get every year in their career. And I don't
unfortunately,
think
it's just the rules right now.
Yeah, and anybody in any job would do the same thing. You would not be like, oh, these guys are paying me $40,000 a year, and I really like the culture, but somebody else is offering me 90. And I don't know a whole lot about their culture, but I do know I'd appreciate a pay raise over 100%. So, I mean, that's the first thing. And then I've got the angel and the devil on my shoulder too. I mean, it's like there's, I guess it ties back to my understanding, but the angel is for fans, accept what it is, understand that it is what it is. And it is crazy that you have free agency in a sense. Like, imagine you made the baseball analogy that you've got this up and coming prospect. He's not making the big dollars yet, but you could be just going into a season and the market changes and some team could say, we'll pay you 8 times what the Braves are paying you this season. All right, I'm gone. You know, again, contracts are involved in all that, but that's where I get the frustration of fans. And you're right. It used to be, and you've talked about it on the pod. I mean, the high school recruits were the ones everyone went crazy about, right? I'd write stories about the team that, you know, I think people would like, a nice feature here and there. But if you wrote that a recruit was visiting, where whoever they are, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so I get that fascination because it affects it. And when you're a fan, you've tied some of your identity to this team. And the fact that your team has no identity other than the name on the front, as Bill Fenley likes to say, you know, that's got to be disturbing to people, of course. But it's also not going to change. So there's no going back, and there shouldn't be any going back to the fact that these guys were locked into making no money. And yes, getting a scholarship and room and board, yes, but well, coaches, a TV, all the billions of dollars involved in all that stuff, the NCAA. So I get both sides of the anger and understanding issue of it. And I guess I share your frustration with it because, you know, you can go from being locked in and all it takes is, you know, an intriguing offer and there's nothing to keep you locked in. And I think that ties into what you talked about legally. They have to do so many hoops from the NIL perspective anyway. None of it's really, I mean, you do this charity stuff, you do this and that. It's not a job per se yet, right? So I think that's why I don't think you could really get anything in writing that if you took it to a court of law would be binding, legally binding in any sort of way.
My biggest pet peeve on this whole thing is maybe somewhat small, but I hate how they call it NIL.
Yeah. You know that's a legal term, though, right? I mean, that's just it's your name, image, and likeness that you now have rights to make money off of when you didn't have rights to make money off of. But
it's just, but we're paying these guys to play basketball and football.
Oh, and yeah, there's no question.
Because I mean, I would argue, like I know a lot of the salaries that have been tossed around the country. It's like, I think Josh Dix will be a fine basketball player for Greg McDermott at Creighton. I think he'll do. I think him and Owen Freeman will do great there. That they're worth more as just basketball, like pay to play. Like their name, image, and likeness is not worth what they're getting paid.
Oh no, yeah. You
know, like it just drives me.
That's part of the song and dance, what you have to do legally.
I get it.
It drives me nuts. Again, which had its other legal issues before because of the exploitation that was involved. You know, so
I get it all. It just drives me nuts.
Oh, like it's a complete portrait of, I mean, it's our society, you know, corruption, you know, just kind of broad daylight. Here we go. Here's how it's going to play out. I mean, what does Coach Campbell talk about it? You know, this day and age, he talked about it in the first spring football press conference, you know, just kind of like everything is becoming more transactional and everything always has been transactional to an extent, but it becomes a lot of short-term thinking, a lot less long-term thinking. And, you know, that doesn't put anybody in a good spot. I mean, I suppose it puts some people momentarily in a good spot, but it's, you know, I share with you the maddening thing while at the same time fully recognizing that these athletes, I'll just call them athletes and students, fully deserve to get paid. It's a shame it has to come in this, because as you guys have said in the podcast,
that's the
it
problem.
doesn't help them.
No.
It doesn't help them when they have bad situations, and it's all kinds of shady stuff going on.
It villainizes them to the fans, which is wrong. But the other aspect is that I could make an argument that it's really the top 10% of these players that are benefiting from this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other ones are getting paid more than they were, obviously, but they have no protection. Like, there's guys getting half the rosters in college basketball. It's like, oh, I've entered the portal. No, you got cut.
Yeah.
Right. And that's always happened in college sports, but not as prevalent as it is now. Like, guys and players have always been run off. And fans didn't want to believe it. That's been happening for 50 years. But
it's going to happen in football more now too, with the scholarship reductions and how many teams choose to hit the upper limit, how many teams have to settle for less. I mean, that's why I had the conversation about walk-ons, preferred walk-ons, and all that being, do they go extinct, or how do you accommodate? It's a bunch of thorny issues that unfortunately we can't solve. Maybe we can get Blum get it in between pina coladas and give us a little pep talk.
Thank our buddy Colin Newell, former Cyclone, for sponsoring the program. He is a Farm Bureau financial services agent. He saves me a lot of money every year on my insurance. Something like $800 to $1,000 he saved me my first year with him. Insures everything for me and Blum. Colin 1L, Newell 2 L's, Farm Bureau Financial Services. I want to thank Andrew Chaplin. He is a real estate agent with Hunziker. If you are in the market for a house, he is Cyclone Fanatic's preferred guy. That's Chaplin spelled CHAPLAIN. Again, Hunziker. I've known Chappie since college. Great dude. He has helped a lot of people here who listen to the podcast buy and sell their homes. Go out and buy yourself a 6-pack of Ames Lager if you want to help keep these players in Ames from our friends at West O. That's all I've got on this portal stuff for now, because I just think it's going to change so much in 24 hours. And I don't know. I feel like we've talked so much about it. We're just at this point, I don't have a lot else to add until we have a roster set, and then we can get going. Do you have anything else you want to pick up?
Yeah, I just want to put a cap on it before we dive into some, could be myriad spring football topics, obviously, but try to narrow down some of the more intriguing ones. I just think what's really disheartening is to see like hate come to Blum and Blum's online. I mean, imagine how much he loves Iowa State and how much you love Iowa State. There's a reason he took on that role, right? Because he loves Iowa State that much. Mm-hmm. Then you have some
thankless.
I mean, people not only trolling them and saying that shit. That's you want to talk about what's infuriating. It's that, because that guy's just dedicated and obviously to Iowa State success athletically and as an institution as anybody I've been around. So that's
not getting paid.
I'll put on that until we get some more news.
And he's not getting paid millions of dollars like the coaches are.
Yep, no doubt.
And he probably takes more shit than anybody.
Well-deserved trip he's on.
Yeah. He's probably not enjoying it. I want to do spring football. Let's do it after our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment, okay?
Gotcha, sure.
Plant your independence, plant Wiffles. Boys are getting out in the fields here coming up. Houston playing for a national championship on Monday. One of the great comebacks in Final Four history, maybe the best comeback in Final Four history. I don't know the history. I was thinking of it last night. I was watching the game with my buddy Coop, who is one of the biggest Cyclone basketball fans I know. And there's this weird connection between Iowa State and Houston. I feel like I was telling my wife weeks ago, she's like, well, if it's not Iowa State, who do you want to win? I was like, Houston. Why? Well, they're basically Iowa State is like what Houston, Iowa State wants to be Houston, right? The way they play, just the overall, that consistency, all that stuff. Iowa State's been pretty good for 4 years, right? 4 NCAA tournaments, 2 Sweet 16s, spent the whole season in the top 10. Like, there's a lot of good stuff here. But, like, there's just this level of respect between those two programs, those fan bases. And, man, it was Iowa State Twitter was on fire for the Cougars last night. And I said this, Rob, a lot of people misunderstood, like, the premise of it. You have to go a little deeper than the surface here. I said they might be the most underrated team I've ever seen. And the reason I say that is, of course, they weren't underrated like on a large scale. Of course, they were a number 1 seed. Nobody a month ago was giving them a chance to win the national championship. It was all those SEC schools and Duke. It's all the national media wanted to talk about. Meanwhile, you have this tough as nails Houston team rolling through the Big 12, killing everybody. Their one loss was like one of the flukiest games in college basketball this season. Sampson has the same toughness, but this team can actually shoot, right? Like they're just I'm such a fan of watching them play. It's a joy to watch them play when we get to see them live a couple times a year. I hope they can beat Florida. I'm all in on the Houston train, and I have been for a while.
Yeah, it's interesting you said a month ago. I'd say as recently as yesterday. Yeah. No one gave them a chance. Who talks about
right.
it? Florida's playing better than anyone in the country. Rolled through the SEC tournament, won at Auburn. Auburn, number 1 overall seed. Oh, of course, despite losing 3 of 5 or whatever down the stretch. Duke's Duke. Cooper Flagg, player of the year, top NBA draft pick, unless he chooses to maybe stay at Duke and make even more money than he would. A little hyperbolic, but I don't think that much.
Not really.
And go on a terrible Wizards team or something. So that game is mind-blowing in so many ways. Hey, was a great comeback, but it was also an epic collapse. I think you got to say Duke did collapse, and Houston had a lot to do with that collapse, but they did some things down the stretch that, wow, that was they had opportunities to stave off the come. They were down 4. Houston was down 14 with about, what was it, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes play. I mean, they were in full control of that game. But Houston, to start the game 3 of 15, when they established the pace, they set the toughness, they set the edge to that game, and fall behind despite getting what they wanted otherwise. To weather that, get it back to whatever it was at halftime, 6. By finally hitting some threes, and to then fall behind by double digits and stay behind by double digits for most of the second half, and then find a way to flip that switch and get Duke to tighten up like they were tightened up offensively early, hit every shot you absolutely needed to make, benefit from a few lucky things like they take that 1-3 and the guy clanks it, but they get the putback dunk, and they're in shape. Just an unbelievable game. And Coach Sampson said it right. I mean, we've been here before. We've been in situations where we're not playing very well. We've found a way. I mean, look at the Kansas game. Arguably an even more unbelievable comeback in a shorter period of time at Lawrence that kind of set Kansas' season spiraling downward. This team has done it. And you see Cooper Flagg get that shot near the end. He gets into the paint. Nice fadeaway. You think, oh, there it is. It's right on line, but it's way short. He short-armed the thing. Nerves can even get to that kid, as great as he is. Mm-hmm. That's what Houston does. Like you said, it's that toughness that you might think you're riding high for a while, and then it's going to hit you again. And it's going to be like, how many times can you withstand it? And I think once you got inside the last couple minutes, Duke just could not withstand it, despite being a great team in its own right.
Yeah, that's all really well said. I think Monday night is a big deal too for the Big 12. I mean, just that you kind of lost that this year, and I don't disagree with it, regardless of what your thoughts are on the SEC. I think the Big 12 did take a step back. I think it's hard to argue against that.
Yep.
Really good league, but it wasn't like Baylor took a step back, Kansas took a step back, Iowa State was what you kind of thought it would be. Houston was what you thought it would be. Tech was probably a little better than what you thought it would be, but like
K-State was worse. Yeah.
K-State was worse. And bringing in all the new teams that like waters it down Like not that 10-team league where anyone could beat anyone, just that doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this perception, and it's not like the Big 12 was like dominant in the non-conference, right? Like you kind of lost it this year. Not saying you will forever, but man, if you could go and stake that claim with Houston on Monday night, I think it'd go a long way. I think I don't know tangibly if it does anything different, but from a perception standpoint, they need that. And I thought it was cool in his postgame. Sampson was kind of flying the Big 12 flag too.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of neat. I was happy he did that.
He's not
Brett Yormark was too.
But he mentioned him by name.
Yeah.
He's not shouting out to us in the media anytime he does post game with us. Good old Kelvin is he's
a bit of a curmudgeon. Yes,
in post game, win or lose. Incredibly, I've been around for a couple in both instances, given how little they lose. But let's do a guess the point spread. Can we do a guess the point spread?
I mean, that's got to be. Do you know it?
I don't know what it is. I'm going to guess that Florida is favored by 4.5 or 5.5 points.
I was going to guess like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'll pull it up right now.
You're probably better at this than I am.
I would guess 1 or 2. I think it's close to a pick 'em. It is. Wait a second. This is why we need Aiden. It's always better when we have a producer. It is 1.
Okay. Well, see, you're better at this than I am. I just thought that perception
1
was there, and as hot as they've been. So that tells you that Vegas is didn't completely buy the hype either.
Well, and honestly, if you're rooting for Houston, I'd rather play Florida than Auburn, I think. I just think that you can rough up Florida a little more than you'd be able to with that Auburn team.
Yeah, but the way
who's officiating and how is it called?
Stretch against Auburn too. I mean, it's going to be a great game either way, and I'm glad it's closer spread because what incredible games both. I mean, Florida eventually pulled away a bit at the end of that game after trailing Auburn a lot of it, but great basketball both games.
Awesome game.
So I expect the same on Monday, and I'm glad I was wrong that it's not thought of as that Walter Clayton Jr. though. I mean, who's gonna? I mean, with Houston's defense, though, I mean,
dude,
it's hard for anybody to
that
go
inbound when they got that inbound. I mean, like that's just the most Houston thing ever.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Yep. Like I went crazy. I was rooting so hard for them in that game. A couple other great sponsors of ours as we cruise into some spring football conversation. Ivy College of Business, mentioned them earlier with our Forever True Day segment. Thank you to them and Dean Spalding. Going to go have lunch with him here in a couple of weeks as his retirement is nearing. Also, Jeff Kelderman and Kelderman Manufacturing, all those guys. Kelderman was racing down at Sebring this weekend. I don't know how it ended up. I'm going to have to check in on that. But, man, if you go down to the Kelderman compound down in Oskaloosa, they're doing great work for companies all over the country. Go to kelderman.com and see all the different work that they do. They have a sweet YouTube page where they do custom trucks and diesels and all that stuff for celebrities. It's pretty badass stuff. Check that out today. All right, I asked Rob, since he's been on the spring football beat, to come up with 2 or 3 topics that he has found interesting during his interviews. Spring football has taken on a massive change in the last 20 years since I've been doing this. Used to be a huge deal.
Yeah.
We would get to watch the practices and now we're not even going to get a spring game this year. And that seems to be a trend all throughout the country. It's not just a Matt Campbell thing, but if you're going to give Matt Campbell the option to not have one, he ain't going to do it. I can promise you, which is fine. I thought last year was a bit of a charade. I was a little peeved at the end of it. Like, I get it. Like, let's just not promote it and not bring everybody out if we're going to just do that. So I'm cool with it. Like, I think it's totally fine. Different era. I get it. But there's still practice going on and development going on within the program. So, Rob, what has stood out to you? Give me a couple of these things.
Well, there's a lot, and there's with the caveat that we have not talked to Ryan Clanton yet. We haven't talked to everybody. We did some more firing up starting tomorrow. So eventful day with spring football in addition to portaling. I could have 20, but I think the first one that springs to mind is, we got Dom Orange the first day, along with Rocco and I think Burkle. I think if Coach Haycock said this, if their defense is going to be good, Dom Orange has to be, I think his number was like a 70%, 75% downs guy. And defensive line coach Eli Rashid, who's been with Campbell forever. What a luxury to have him when then you bring in Bryce Pop in a quality control role or whatever, a former NFL defensive player of the year, obviously played at UNI high level. He talks about maybe like 60 snaps. He's thinking 60 snaps. He's saying 60. And Dom has been that guy that when he pops, as I wrote in a feature, it's spectacular. I mean, you're like, holy cow, is anybody in the country as good as this? Bruce Feldman named him one of the freaks in the Athletic heading into last season. And boy, he made some big plays and big moments, but he would recede into the background too. So that's job one for him, because when he is good, and I know they moved him outside some this year, but Rashid reiterated he is a true nose. This is where he projects well, for professionally. He blows up so much stuff that they can be more creative on the edge. And it's no secret then that since Will McDonald left, Iowa State's been one of the worst teams in the country in getting sacks. So if Dom can create that disruption right in the middle, and you get your Ike Ezeagus and a lot of people, you lose to Joey Peterson, you lost some people last year, but you've got a lot of talent still there. You can use the linebackers. They've talked about spying in different ways to help produce more pressure on the quarterback. I think that's a really intriguing thing to me. And Dom's kind of the touchstone for it all. And he said all the right things, and he's always an engaging interview. Just like, it's all there for. I've always had the athletic ability to do it, but I don't know if I had the mindset to do it. So if he's coupled that mindset with what that freak athletic ability, then that's going to have ripple effects through each segment of the defense, but particularly obviously the defensive line.
Felt like Orange is one of those guys. A little bit like I would compare it to Knoll a little bit early in his career, where it's like he's always good and you're always way better when he's on the field, but you're just waiting for him to take that extra step where he's great consistently. And we finally have seen that from Knoll the last couple of years, right? Especially last year, but he's been just that guy. But when they play so early and there's that hype around him, and then you're like, the 70% thing is really, really intriguing, because was it the Kansas game that he didn't travel to or something?
I can't remember which game that there was. Yeah.
And they just got completely carved up. When he's not out there at all, and that wasn't just him. They were down 15 linebackers at the time.
I think did Verdon play in that game? I mean,
Verdon played like a series, and then he was out. That game was
a
a beautiful disaster, and the fact that they still had a chance to win in the fourth quarter is magical. With the way
it was like a video game, man. When Kansas was on offense, I mean, it was just like, oh, how big of a hole do you want? Name it.
Why are we bringing that up for everybody?
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
You did.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, everybody. That's on me.
I lent credence to it.
Orange, I mean, he has the potential to be one of the best noses in college football. If he can, like you said, if he can put it all together. So that's good. No, I like that. And very good. I thought the whole, if I can do it mentally thing, that's mature that you could put that together if you're him.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to know your own weaknesses to accentuate your strengths, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he's been good at that the whole time. I will say, he was very frank about how he couldn't, after one snap, he was huffing and puffing as a freshman, for one series. And he's, it takes a while to build up to that. He's really made his body like a complete sea change. Would he come in at 350 plus? He's listed at 324, but a lot stronger. Look, a lot of things are going to matter on that defense. And I'll probably mention at least another one, but I mean, I don't think there are many bigger than him, other than the health of the linebackers, because if that unit stays healthy, then you can take some pressure off some of the younger safeties. Yes, you've got Cooper, you got John Tess back at corner, but a lot of younger players also in that mix back there.
I saw you did a piece on Bacon. Real quick on that, like what is his for our listeners who haven't been day to day on spring football yet? What is his schedule like right now? He's not full contact yet, is he?
No, Campbell said he and Willich both are like probably not going to be full contact guys in the spring. Just getting in their work.
They probably could be, I think, and it's just like, what's the point?
Why not be precautionary?
Yeah.
And of course, Willich got hurt in spring ball last year, the season-ending injury, and then of course Bacon in that special teams play in the opener. But that's their situation. Obviously, two guys that were probably going to start. Obviously, Caleb was definitely going to start. He'd emerge as a star, in 2023. So just
we could do a great
with them.
Piece on that linebacking core last year.
Appreciate it. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said we could do a great piece on like an oral history on the linebacker injuries from last year.
Yeah,
I mean, if you think about like, I've heard my guy. I know you're a fan of Rylan Barnes as well.
Yeah,
that's my guy.
Shout out to his dad too.
Jeremy's the man. Great family.
And parents, not just dad. Yeah.
Yeah. But like the amount of people that didn't know who he was on the roster, like when he goes into that Baylor game, and I've talked to Colby Cratch, and he's like, yeah, he'll do a great job. Like he was super confident in him, and there's so many cool stories, but cool and terrifying from that linebacking situation a year ago. That's the thing. I've thought about this in the last week. Iowa State had a really good athletics year. It wasn't like iconic. Like they didn't get the Big 12 championship in football. They were close. Basketball didn't get like to that third weekend or the Elite Eight or whatever you were shooting for. But you really couldn't have had worse luck with injuries across the board. Even the women's basketball team with like Mackenzie Hare and like it was really. And you talk about wrestling. That may have been the worst injury season in the history of Iowa State athletics.
I didn't even think about it, but yeah, I can't think of one that was worse. I mean, I
can't.
Kenzie Hare made such a huge difference. There's a reason they went out and got her.
Yeah.
Her role was going to be huge on both ends of the floor and can be again next season. But I mean, losing her, that brought the ceiling down significantly. Like I said, the wrestling, you lose.
Wrestling, the whole team got
former All-Americans. You were down 4 starters, less than halfway in the season. You were down a couple starters barely into the season. One's transferred now. At least one. That's been crazy. Transfer portal in wrestling. That's a story and a half too. But no, you're right. Basketball, I don't think there's any question this team could have been playing last night. If it had stayed reasonably healthy.
They were beating Auburn by 18 at one point.
Yep, and the way they looked until Gilbert got hurt, and then he struck. You could see the difference when he talked about how he got the groin strain or whatever. You could see that's coincided with where the drop off with him began, and then Milan out for so long. He was so important to them from the spacing perspective and just as a bucket getter. And then you got to adapt to that. The one silver lining is the way Nate Heisey came on, and he could be. I think the ceiling for him is virtually unlimited. The way he shot the three down the stretch, the way he aggressively attacked the rim, the athleticism he showed, and we know how good a defensive player he is. Talk all about the portal. He's coming back. Milan's expressed it. We know who Taman Lipsey is. So no matter what, you've got a strong core and some good freshmen. And I took us off on a tangent there a little bit, but that's the only silver lining to the end. Some of the young linebackers having to play. You've created a really good quality depth there now. And Dresser talked about the silver lining, getting guys like Daniel Herrera, going and wrestling and getting Jacob Frost into the lineup. And, he All-American. So, there are silver linings, but you're right. The worst luck I could say, if you want to talk about across those 4 sports where hopes were very, very high. Like I said, football made history in a lot of ways, but the injuries certainly curtailed everything else quite a bit.
All right, give me a couple more spring football here before we go. Anything
Yeah,
else grabbing you?
real quick. I mean, their penchant of getting guys, whether via JUCO or otherwise transfer, who are young to football. Like I got a story that I'll publish later on Trey Bell, the cornerback, 6'3".
I liked his interview.
Yeah, he's really, really, really good. So it's Xavier Townsend once as well. It is a guy who's not young to football. Heck, he knew Rocco Becht at age 8 and all that. But Trey Bell was playing hoops, wanted to play hoops, couldn't really do it. He just said, okay, that's it. Football's a lot more fun than I thought. You know, he plays at Lindenwood, has an opportunity to transfer to Iowa State. He's got about the same measurables as Darian Porter did because Darian Porter shrank from 6'4" to 6'3" at the combine. So this happens a lot of times at the combine. Guys lose an inch for obvious reasons. But he also lit that place on fire too with the 4.3 and all that. And he's using him as his model. I mean, here's a guy that hasn't played a whole lot of football. He's got so much room to grow, and he's got at least a couple years at Iowa State to do it. And James Neal on the line, we've seen him take his lumps how many times, you know? But we also saw him lining as a tight end, as a former hoops guy. He's still pretty young to football, and he started some games at tackle, and he's done some good things. He take a huge step. So I think that one of the diamonds in the rough process thing that Campbell and staff are really good at is finding these guys. Will McDonald's a prime example, of course, basketball primarily, and then they convinced him to come and play football finally, junior year, I think, in high school. So they're finding guys that may be under the radar a little bit, but have this athleticism that they think translates. And in the case of Bell, length. And if they're using Darian Porter as his model and say, hey, we think you have the potential to be like him, I'd say they're doing a pretty good job of uncovering these guys that have that potential, but haven't played a lot of football.
Campbell noted that at the Cyclone Fanatic We Will party, he singled out Bell.
Yeah,
which is interesting. Usually when Matt does that early on, it's a good thing for that individual. He has a pretty good hit record.
Yep.
When it comes to that. So that the corner thing would be really interesting to me. Looking ahead to next year, that would be one that I have circled.
You know what you got with John Tez, David Coffey coming on, other guys in that room. Mm-hmm. So
John Tez he may be my favorite of all those corners to watch.
Yeah.
He's electric. Like Tampa was just a dog. Like he just knew what he was going to do. Like John Tez is like a little bit of Ellis Hobbs in him.
Yeah. I see that a little bit. I see that a little bit too. There's I don't know what you call it, an unpredictability in the sense of a certain energy. I don't know.
He'll try and jump the ball.
Yeah.
And maybe give up something bigger, but he's going to try and make the play. Like I don't know. He's fun.
A pick in 4 straight games last year, which I think is tied a school record. So, I mean,
the other guy you mentioned that I just wanted to single out is Burkle at tight end. You got to think with with Mauser being the OC, tight end guy. I also listen, Rocco Becht has got to complete a higher percentage of passes this year. Mm-hmm. If that offense is going to take he has to. And maybe, that's not all on the quarterback, right? Like there's scheme involved. And I just wonder, I've heard so much about this Cooper Alexander, all these guys. I just wonder how much the tight ends are just going to start creeping their way. Cause it ebbs and flows. Like they were non-existent. Then they were catching 70% of the balls. Then they dropped off after those guys graduated. And I almost wonder, Rob, if we're getting back into this, the next wave of the tight end era of Iowa State football.
The return of constant 12 and 13 personnel.
Stop. You're making me want to puke.
I know. But you didn't even mention him, but I know you were thinking of him, Ben Bramer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about the best one on the roster.
So you've got.
But I was thinking at the end of last year, and he didn't play.
Exactly. Or you tried to give it a go, whatever.
Great point. Thank you for bringing him up. I mean, you just factor in all those things we just said, and it feels like that's where this is heading. Especially if you have more of a power type back in Carson Hansen. I don't know if that's fair to categorize him as that. I don't know. We'll see. And and Campbell has shown they'll switch things up from year to year. They don't do that defensively, but on offense, they certainly do. And I know the offensive coordinator well enough, and he loves tight ends. I mean, if it were me, their tight ends wouldn't even be on the roster. It'd just be 5 wide. I'm kind of kidding. But Burkle was one of the best tight ends in the league at the end of the year.
Yeah, he was great, making huge catch after huge catch down the stretch. But I mean, we talked about Townsend, but Chase Sowell coming in with that kind of not quite as heavy, maybe quite as physically mature, from a weight room standpoint as Jaden Higgins. But you brought guys in that have similar traits to those guys, and then you've got existing guys coming back. You've seen what they've moved. Kai Plack to more of a tight end / something kind of deal. And you moved Benny Nagoye, of course, to that. It's another intriguing thing at corner over to that spot. I think they've got receivers too, man. I mean, Beck did take a step back statistically, which is wild to say, even though he was very good last season. Completion percentage, his touchdown to interception ratio wasn't as good. Still good.
He's got to obviously quit the pick 6 deal.
That's been a trend though. I think it would be crazy. That's another thing I was thinking about. How many pick 6s did Brock throw? A fair number.
They've thrown a lot of pick 6s at Iowa State.
And Hunter Deckers in his 1 year, he did admirably. He threw some high-profile ones. So I wonder what percentage of interceptions from the Brock Purdy era to now have ended in touchdowns.
Great question.
It's going to be. I think it would be higher than most people think.
I think Rocco, he needs to be, if they're gonna have all these tight ends on the field, they need to be completing 65% of his passes.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair thing to ask of him.
Yeah.
Now, that's assuming that he's protected and that there's a adequate running game, which I'm,
wait and see, right? I mean, he's got saw glimpses again last year for sure.
I just my thing with tight ends, and I love them when they're like Charlie Kohler.
Yeah, Chase Allen.
I don't like them when they're early Gabe Burkle. When it's but now Gabe has turned into a real threat out there, so it makes sense to have him out there. I don't like you're just there to take up space and right? I want to keep it's all Leach for me, right? And Leach, they got to have a purpose in evening out the sides of the field. And I mean, Mauser believes in that. So I'm not down on any of this. It feels like that's where they're going.
Well, you're upset that they have this many good tight ends again.
No.
That's what it sounds like to me. It's dang
God. I hope this doesn't get back to Campbell. Campbell will just be rolling his eyes at me. I don't dislike tight ends. My point is, if they're going to play, you got to be able to catch. They got to be able to catch balls.
Oh yeah. It can't be like year one. I mean, remember back then where
that's my whole point on the tight ends. I love them if they can block, and they got to be able to do both. And I feel like now this is actually a compliment because I feel like they finally have a crop of guys that can do both.
Yep.
Since the other guys all graduated, right? And to have a trio like they did with Allen and Kohler and Sion Buckner and all the Sainer, they had all those dudes that were just dogs there for. You can't have that forever. Well, last year you had 2 potential first-round draft picks at wide receiver. Now it just feels like I don't care how good these new guys are, they're not going to be as good as Higgins and Noel were.
Yeah.
So I'm projecting as to where I think this is going to go. I could end up being wrong.
Well, those were, some of the more productive offenses in Iowa State history when those guys.
And it should help the running game, in theory.
Tight ends at times. So
we'll see.
Can still make big plays down the field. We saw Ben Bramer do it a lot. We saw Burkle start doing it. We haven't seen Cooper Alexander because of the injuries, but as you said, everyone's super, super high on him. So, the air raid's going to have to be.
I think they're shelving it at Iowa State. I don't think we're going to get the air raid this year, unfortunately. Matt Campbell would just as soon die than run the air raid. I can promise you. Appreciate you filling in, Rob. This was fun, man.
My pleasure. And a lot of news obviously to keep an eye on tomorrow, football as well. And good to be with you, and hope Blum's having at least as good a time as he can.
I hope I hope the pina coladas are well. We'll keep the place from burning down back here in Iowa. Rob Gray filling in for Blum today. Appreciate it. We will be doing, again, I hope you enjoyed the spring football conversation. We'll be doing a lot of that coming up here in the coming weeks. For Rob Gray, my name is Chris Williams. Mechdyne is our presenting sponsor here on Williams and Blum. We'll be back on Wednesday. Later.